The wind howled through the bare trees as snow fell silently over the small, forgotten village nestled at the edge of the Appalachian Mountains. In a modest house with peeling paint and broken shutters, 17-year-old Alina sat trembling on the cold floor. Her mother wouldn't look at her. Her father was already counting the money in his calloused hands. "She's of no use to us," he muttered, stuffing the bills into his coat. "Can't even give a man children." The man who bought her was older, silent, and hard-looking. His name was Fergus. A lumberjack who rarely spoke more than a few words at a time. Locals whispered about him. Said he lived deep in the forest with 4 kids and no wife, after a tragic accident left him widowed 5 winters ago. Alina didn't cry as they drove away. She didn't ask why her parents had sold her. She already knew. 2 years ago, a doctor confirmed what years of strange fevers had done. Her womb was scarred beyond healing. No children. No future, at least not in the eyes of her family. Fergus's cabin stood like a fortress in the woods, weather-beaten, tall, and covered in frost. The inside, however, surprised her. Though humble, it was warm. Lived in. There were drawings taped to the walls, tiny boots lined up near the fire, and the smell of baked apples clinging to the air. 4 pairs of wide eyes peered at her from behind a staircase. "That's Ellie," Fergus said, nodding toward the youngest. "She's 5. Then Ben, Marla, and Toby. They lost their mother in the fire. You don't owe me anything, girl. Just help where you can." It was the first kindness she'd heard in months. Days turned into weeks. Alina began to stitch holes in socks, braid Ellie's hair, and read stories aloud from old library books. At first, she kept her heart guarded. But slowly, the walls began to crack. Ben, the middle child, gave her a crumpled paper one day. It was a drawing of her holding their hands, with a caption, "Our new star." One snowy afternoon, Fergus found Alina crying silently in the woodshed, her hands buried in her face. "I'm not a real woman," she choked. "I'll never be a mother." Fergus looked at her for a long time, his breath misting in the cold air. "You already are," he said softly. "You just didn't know it." That spring, the valley woke from its slumber with blossoms and sunlight. Alina planted herbs near the porch, taught the children how to knead bread, and laughed for the first time in years. Yet shadows still lingered. Her parents had tried to reach her after hearing that Fergus wasn't the monster they assumed. They wanted her back, now claiming regret, now wanting her to take care of them. But Alina had found something more than a home. She had found purpose. Family. Love. One evening, she sat on the porch as Toby, the oldest, asked, "Why did your real parents give you away?" She looked at him, then at Fergus who was splitting wood nearby, sweat glistening on his brow despite the chill. "Because they didn't understand that family isn't about blood," she said. "It's about who stays. Who chooses you, even when they don't have to." Years later, the community knew her as Mama Alina. She opened a small schoolhouse in the valley, where children with no place to go were welcomed like her own. Fergus stood beside her at every holiday, his hand always gently resting on her back. They never had children together, not biologically. But they raised dozens. Hurt children, broken children, forgotten children. And one day, a little girl named June, barefoot and bruised, whispered, "Are you my real mama now?" Alina knelt down, tears in her eyes, and said, "I've always been." Alina was once discarded by the ones who were supposed to love her most. But in the shelter of kindness, among a quiet lumberjack and his 4 grieving children, she found what many spend a lifetime searching for, not just a home, but a reason to believe in herself again. Because sometimes, the family you choose becomes the family you were always meant to have. And sometimes, the love that finds you in the ashes is stronger than anything born in fire.